Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Fernando Ruiz, author, meditation teacher, influencer, speaker, and CEO of True Hope Recovery. And so we will be talking about him, learning from him the 4 concepts that change his life. That is taking responsibility, meditation, being present, and letting go. We'll talk about this and much more. Welcome to the show, Fernando.
Hi, thank you, AJ. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Fernando. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about your 4 concepts. We'll talk about the art of letting go and much more. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yes, very good. Yes, and I'll put this in short form here. So, basically, I grew up in Chandler, Arizona. I was had a normal childhood, pretty much until I was about 12 years old, and then I had a incident of some sexual abuse, and so therefore, around this, I kind of started to build this very egotistical, strong person that I wanted to just build some walls around me, and I started to begin to do that when I was younger. And of course, with this led me into, building a facade, and this I started to live on the streets and do bad things. I got into some trouble, which led me ultimately into prison. And when I got into prison, I had to do 5 years. And this is where I started to actually change my life in prison. And I was starting to listen to Swami Tyagananda, which in India, he's part of the Vedanta tradition, which I am now. And I was listening to a podcast like this here, and actually very much so changed my life after this. And those walls and that facade that I had built really started to crumble, and they started to come down. And I started to realize through my 4 concepts and the teachings of Vedanta that I was not that ego, and I was not that hurt young boy who was starving for attention, but also just living a life of a lie and a fearful child. And so that's kind of my story in a nutshell. After prison, I became an author. I wrote a book. I wrote a journal, which these 4 concepts are in. I'm working on my 3rd right now, which is going to be coming out here soon. And yeah, that's basically my past in a nutshell.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what is your present right now, Fernando? What is it that you are doing and trying to convey to the world with what you are doing?
Yeah, so right now I am trying to convey that people don't have to be their wounds, that they can turn their wounds into wellness and their tragedies into triumph. And I say this all the time, and what this means is, like I said before, that hurt person that I was before, I transformed that person to the person I am today. And so true hope recovery is recovery from hurt, from trauma. And these 4 concepts basically is learning to stay present, learning to meditate, also to just learn the art of letting go. And letting go seems to be the hardest concept, but I think it's because we try to let go of the wrong things. But those are the 4 concepts of true hope, and that's what I'm trying to teach the world, because now that I have transformed my life through these 4 concepts, I'm trying to easily teach these to people who seek that type of freedom and that type of help.
Absolutely, Fernando. Let us let us understand this few things one by one. First is, the motivation part. A lot of people think, what is the motivation for me to transform? What is there can I expect from this whole transformation and motivation? It is better to be in present state and they continue to be in whatever state. When you were going through your hardships, what was your motivation for looking at transformation? Because it can be, you can get accustomed to a way of life. Many people are afraid of that particular change, because that is, you have to leave so many things behind that is comfortable, and a new life can be so much demanding. That is why I ask, how do people find that motivation, and the reason for that motivation? What is it that you found in your own life so that others can learn from that?
Great question. Great question. And I think so for me alone, this motivation came from just living an unbalanced life. My life was very chaotic. I did not know how to balance my street life and my home life. I had lost everything. I lost my kids at the time and my wife. And so for me, and this is the part where you start to think, wow, I'm not doing very well here. And I mean, like, it wasn't hard for me to figure that out because I ended up in prison. But now my students, they don't have to go to prison to realize this. It's more of a balance thing. They overwork sometimes they have too many drinks in the afternoon, or they have to drink every day. They smoke every day. And what it is you're using you're using the bad coping skills in order to get through certain emotions or situations in life. And so the motivation to change is just wanting a more balanced life. I think that's really the concept of it.
Absolutely. And once you have the motivation to change, how do you find which path to take? Should you path walk alone? Should you find a mentor? How does that work? Because how you don't even know how to find the right path and the right mentor. How did you do it for yourself?
Oh, yes, definitely. I would always recommend a mentor. You need somebody to help guide you. And a lot, like, for me, this came in the form of a podcast, just like you are now. This came to listening to someone. For me, eventually, I actually talked to Swami in my later years of being incarcerated. And then I actually, when I got out, I met with him and spoke with him. And then he taught me something very valuable, and I needed that because once I had already listened to it, just like when we write, when we read books, after we read a book, we need to figure this out, experiential. So we want to experience what we've read, or like in the podcast, we want to experience that type of freedom. Like, what am I getting out of this? Because it's one thing to have knowledge, but it's another thing to have experience and wisdom. And so when I met with Swami, a lot of the things was, I was like, how am I going to turn myself from this homeless addict? And he said, I'm not going to teach you how to not be an addict. I'm going to teach you how to manage your life and how to be a better person. And then all that other stuff is going to fade away. And so a mentor is very important because the podcast and the books and the knowledge, they didn't tell me that. I needed someone to tell me this and to teach me this. So it's very important. I'd say get a mentor after you're done figuring out the knowledge part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How should one prepare for the challenges during transformation? Because the past always pulls you back, and the
Yes.
future is only so distant. How did you manage that? What can people learn from your life, Fernando?
Oh gosh, yes, for sure, for sure. I tell people this all the time and they don't believe me sometimes, but when I was incarcerated, I found it easier to let go of the past and not think about the future, because when I got out, life comes at you a million miles an hour. You are constantly being pulled to the past. People want to know, oh, you've changed. Now pay me back for the past, or help me do this, or help me develop this, because now that you're changed. And then in the future, I eventually got married and I have a little daughter of my own. So I got to be a father, I got to be a husband. And what's my future going to look like? What am I going to do in the future? So these things come really quickly. And one thing is like I always tell in my concepts, be present, because the past, long gone, and the future, you have no idea. And we experience this every day. It's just that that's where our meditation comes in. Our meditation is to keep us focused on today and not thinking about the past or the future. So that's why being present and meditating is a part of this, because this keeps you grounded. Very much so.
Absolutely, Fernando. Absolutely. So let me ask you this way: who do you give the biggest credit, most credit for your, you know, changing of your life, for your transformation?
Oh, definitely. You know, so the podcast that I was listening to was Swami Taigananda, and this was my very first teacher. But when I got out, I started Vedanta, and my Swami now is Swami Sarvadevananda from the Ramakrishna order. But I give all the credit to my Vedantic practice, because I understood something, is that I needed discipline, I needed a mentor, and Vedanta did that for me. And this could be anything, though. Honestly, this could be your Christianity, any religion that you follow. Anything normally works as long as you keep it up and you keep disciplined. For me, this just worked for me like this because I had a lot of internal problems, and Vedanta steered me inwards, not outwards. And so for me, that worked very much. But I give all my credit to my Vedic practice and what I've learned, really.
Absolutely. Now let's come down to the four concepts that you talk about taking responsibility, meditation, being present, and letting go. How would you like to the world to understand these things the way you want them to understand?
Yeah. So letting go, so letting go is difficult for us, because when we say, sometimes when we say letting go of something, sometimes we think this is letting go of a person, this is letting go of material things, this is letting go of our jobs. And in actuality, this is not what this is. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what True Hope does. Letting go is letting go of the person who you once were, letting go of the problems that you used to have. Like we talked about earlier about the past. The past always is right there waiting for you to feel guilty, to feel shame, to feel blame. And letting go is letting go of those problems. Like you let go of being shameful of the past. You let go of the person who you were. Because, see, my past had me playing a victim. And really, that's what led me to all my destructive behavior. Was I thought I was a victim. I needed to build walls. And letting go of that victim was my greatest strength. That was the greatest thing that I learned, was letting go of that person, so that I could become the person I am today. And that's what I try to teach people with that letting go. Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. To understand it better, because that is your way of looking at it. How should people start, or get started with letting go? What is the best way to, look at their life from this particular perspective, Fernando?
Yeah. So the first thing I do, of course, with me, I had a whole practice, and yes, I did many years of practice with this. But for people who are just coming into this letting go process, this is just letting go of little things, building a discipline, maybe like a good morning routine, like I have in my journal, is to get up early, sit and meditate, and then do some journaling, because these things help you to discover, hey, what do I need to let go of? Because a lot of times we don't know what to let go of. And so we need to sit with ourselves for a little while to understand what needs to be, like, what's serving us. Okay. For example, we work, 90 hours, and we maybe we go out on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and then Sunday we just rest. Well, what do we let go of in order be, to have a balanced life? Well, maybe we need to let go of Saturday night. Keep Friday, but let go of Saturday, so we can rest and so we can be well balanced. And this is the thing about letting go, is you want to figure out what's not serving you. And the best way to do this is to just sit with yourself, do some journaling, maybe some exercising if you can do this, and this will help you to kind of pull those concepts together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Hmm.
and talking about, Swamiji, that you talked about, I want to understand that interaction so that, people can make the best of interactions with wise people whenever they come across them. Tell us your interaction with that. And a lot of things, if I understand, it's about that Indian philosophy from this part of the world. How did you look at that? How did you ask your questions and got your answers that could help you move into your path, the path that you wanted for yourself?
Well, so when I met Swami, I had a million questions, just like everyone else does. When you meet somebody, I felt this presence about him, this calm demeanor, and I wanted that. And I had got a little glimpse of it. But when I met Swamiji, it- I felt this calm about him that just settling. It helped me. Just being in his presence helped me. And the one thing that I really understood after meeting Swami and the questions that I would ask him is that he gave me really short answers. And and at first my mind was like very Western forward, and I wanted to know, well, how do I do this? Like I said, I asked him, how are you going to teach me to not be an addict or whatnot? And how can I uh, make money, and how can I survive and be a better man? Well, you know, he just told me the same thing. Sit with yourself, do your practice, do your puja, do your meditation, and you will discover, you will discover what this means to you, that you don't want to be the person you used to be. And his very simple answers to me were very simple at the time, and I thought, okay, I need more sustenance. But in keeping up with my discipline, keeping up with my practice, it came to me. Like if I was my own teacher, it came to me. And then I would call him, and I'd ask him, something happened to me, Swami, in meditation. I discovered this. Is this true? And he would just say, oh, yes, of course, keep practicing. And so I just thought that was the funniest thing, because like many people in the West, I thought he was going to give me a long list of books to read, and a daily itinerary to follow, and it wasn't really nothing like that. It was very simple. It was very simple, but it's a journey of self discovery, is what he taught me, and I think that's what Swamiji and my Indian philosophies have brought me to, is that it's self discovery. It's my issues are
Absolutely.
not outside of me.
Absolutely, absolutely, Fernando. So, who are the people who come to you for true hope recovery? Help us understand from that perspective.
Yes, I mean, I have students from all walks of life. I have some who come from addiction, and because that was my background, that I came from that to this. So I have some students who come to me for this, but a lot of my students, my friends, whoever comes to me, they come because there's a lot of mental health going on right now. A lot of mental health problems. A lot of people are on medications and they don't know how to cope with life. They're very stressed out from their jobs, working all week, no time with the family. And so many people come to me that have this type of mental health problems also, because when you sit with yourself for a little bit, you discover that all of your emotions and all of your problems, they turn you in they kind of gear you towards using bad coping skills, because bad coping skills work very quickly. The drinking, the smoking, the you know being away from your family, these things, they very much so pull people in because they work fast, you know? And so a lot of my students are people of this kind of, they have these habits, and they're not too bad habits, but, they work, and as long as you're not overusing them, and it's fine. But the people who come to me normally have kind of had enough of it, and they want to feel a little more balanced. And it's funny, but just like I met Swami and I became like in his presence and I was calm, I think some of my students, they come to me like this, and feel that way. At least I hope.
Absolutely. How do you answer the queries of your students now? Do you answer with all your questions met, or you still have your questions, many questions still in your mind, and still are able to answer their queries?
Oh, I have lots of questions. I think that I'm still a student myself, and I have, even though I've been doing this for almost 10 years, um, I'm still a student, and I never forget that. And for my students, I answer them. I think it depends on where they're at. Some of If some of my students, if they ask questions that require lots of detail, then I answer them with detail. And if their mind is, let's say, we'll say ADHD, and their mind is very fast, and they want to answer lots of questions, that person normally requires some answers, or else they're going to get turned off if I just tell them to sit with themselves. So I give them little practices. I tell them to meditate, but put headphones on so they can have a little distraction. I tell them to sit with their coffee, breathe in their coffee, relax, and smell and taste their coffee so they can focus on one thing. Other students who come to me, they're already a little past that, and they have questions such as I did for Swami when I already had sat for a little while. And I just tell them, you keep sitting, you keep being present, these things will come. So it just really depends. People have their own individual minds, and so their concepts sometimes are overlapped, or they require long answers, lots of answers, and some they don't. Some are very disciplined already, and they understand this whole practice.
Absolutely, absolutely, Fernando. Coming back to the art of letting go, how do you want, especially for business people,
Mhm.
how do you want them to see the art of letting go and learn something for themselves and their, making their life and others' lives better?
Yeah, so and I have several students of this caliber who are prominent. They're business like. I myself am trying to get into the business world, and it's difficult to navigate the business world because we want to make money, we want to support our families, we want the nice things, we want the houses, we want the cars, and this is fine to have, and I tell people this all the time, it's fine, but we just don't want to overseed, we don't want to over expect, and we don't want to lose that balance that I talked about earlier. And a lot of my business students, I just let them know. Uh, First, I ask them, do you have everything you need? Right? Do you have the car? Do you have the house? Do you have the family? Do you have the kids? Yes, I have all this. Okay, then let's figure out what is it that you want to exceed to, though. Do you want to be a millionaire? Are we spending too much time with work and not enough time with our families and doing things that we love? Um, so for the business aspect is about balance. I always say balance, balance, balance. We want to, you know, they say work hard, play hard. Well, don't play too hard, because what happens if you play too hard, you then you have to work really hard. How about you work balanced and then you play balanced? And I think that really resonates with people. Is you only have space and time for certain things, and if you exceed your time, then you've become unbalanced. And for business people, this can get away from you very, very quickly. So do your business, but make sure you have time for the things that you truly love, and not just the material things, because material things will always come and go, always. It's your family, your friendships, your meditation practices. That those are the things that are really going to matter to you at the end of the day when you lay your head down. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well explained, Fernando. Indeed, work balanced and play balanced, and all the things that you spoke. There is so much to learn about all this from you, Fernando, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more what you are doing, be a part of it, be a part of True Hope Recovery. What's the best way for them to do so?
good. So my books are on Amazon and at Barnes and Noble. So you can get the books there. You can get the journal. The journal, like I said, outlines my morning routine, which you want to have. And then they can go to truehoperecovery.com. So True Hope Recovery with no E, TRUHOPE recovery.com. And this will lead you into um, conversations with me. Join, and I'll talk you through anything. I'm always here, so they can do that.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Of course, thank you, AJ, for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.